Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12 o'clock, so let's get started. My name is Lori Sad, and I am part of the business development team here at KMA HR Consulting. Thanks for joining our webinar today on talent acquisition and retention. And I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Holly Lancaster is our Director of Recruiting here at KMA. Holly has more than 20 years of experience in recruiting, sales, and client service. Throughout her career, Holly has worked in sales, engineering, aerospace, manufacturing, government, and technology, among other industries. Carrie Maya is our Compensation Services Manager here at KMA. Carrie has more than a decade of experience in compensation and data analytics. She's developed a broad-based compensation background, including compensation strategy development, benchmarking and job evaluations, sales compensation and variable pay programs, salary structure creation, FLSA analysis, merit programs, and policy and budget creation. During our webinar, please feel free to ask questions, put questions in the chat, and if we have time at the end, we'll address those questions. And without further ado, take it away, Holly and Carrie.
All right, thanks, Lori. We are so happy to have so many of you joining us to cover a few interesting and exciting topics around hiring and retaining top talent. As you can see from the agenda, we're going to go through what the candidate market looks like today, understanding your company's story and your employee value proposition. I'll cover some information about a healthy job posting, and we'll review the importance of a good onboarding experience as well. We have this information about unemployment. A healthy unemployment rate is between 3 and 5%, and we are in that range right now. So what does that mean for the candidate market? It means we have a healthier, more even approach to finding talent. Companies have started to see a healthier population of candidates applying to jobs. There's lower attrition and in general, a shift to trying to work through the new normal after the pandemic. So I think we can all agree that the past few years have brought on a lot of changes, and keeping up with those changes means we need to understand what people are looking for when making a change in their career, or what people want from their employees in order to stay where they are. The candidate landscape, what does it look like today and how has it changed? Well, if we look back 6 years, the market was and had been an employer market. So when a company needed to hire, they would post a job, they'd sit back, they'd get candidates to come through, and they would ask the candidates to sell them on why they should get hired. The pandemic changed that, and the shift moved towards a candidate market where the candidates were in the driver's seat asking, why should I work for you? And the clients had to do the selling. So we're beginning to see this level out a bit, and that makes for a healthier market for both candidates and companies. A lot of that comes from the fact that there's more transparency in a healthy market, and with artificial intelligence playing a bigger role today than ever before, there's more comparing and learning on both sides for what to offer, what to look for in terms of talent for clients and jobs for candidates. So it's good to just think about that when you're looking at your candidate pool and your employees as well. So since December of 2023, we here at KMA have started to see an increase in applicants and job postings as well. So paying attention to trends, it helps us advise our clients on the best ways to keep talent flowing into their jobs. And one of the bigger changes that has happened to job postings is we now see more postings including a salary or a salary range. In some states, this is mandated. You have to put out what the job pays. It's not mandated in Maine yet, but it could be. I think, as Lori mentioned, or maybe we didn't mention this yet, but we did a survey with some of the candidates that we work with here at KMA, and our recent survey showed that the number one thing that people are interested in when looking for making a change in employer is salary. So this has been, in some cases, a hard shift for some clients as they worry about pay equity and what their employees might see online. This is giving employers a chance to improve their internal pay equity as well. A KMA compensation assessment can help with this, just if you need one. And we have seen an obvious bump in the number of people applying to jobs when salary is posted. So we recommend that all the time. And salary can be a range. It also helps with keeping the hiring process clean. There's less questions around pay. There's less worry about what you should ask for. And this keeps an interview focused on the skills, the experience, the cultural fit, rather than a negotiation. Most of the job boards will autofill a salary, which means that they'll use artificial intelligence or their algorithm for the position title that you use. And this is not the strongest tool. It takes data from employees and not actual pay from employers. So the bottom line is posting your salary is important. The job boards will do it for you automatically if you don't have that figured out. But that salary in the posting has proven to increase applicant volume. We're going to review a few tips and tricks for a job posting in a few slides, and that will help with highlighting what else people are looking for from companies that they work for. But first, let's get to the survey that we conducted and talk a little bit about some of our findings. As we mentioned, or as I mentioned earlier, we conducted a survey of our applicants and we got some good information to share. So I already spoiled the news that salary was the most influential reason for people making a change. It's what they care about the most is salary. In this job market, you do need to have a competitive pay structure, both for applicants and for your employees. So again, KMA's got a comp department. If we can help you with a market assessment, we'd be happy to. It's Carrie's expertise, and you'll hear from her in a little bit. But just knowing what you should pay is always a good thing. Our survey was sent to applicants in an effort to get a pulse on a few of the things in the market. And here's what we found. We asked how important flexibility is in terms of remote work options and flexible hours, and only 3% answered that it's not important. So workspace flexibility is really important to people in this market. The jobs that are posted as remote or hybrid get far more applicants than those that do not opt for that option. Hybrid option and a 4-day work week are all more appealing to candidates than a traditional 9 to 5 in the office. I'll make note here, somebody in the original, when we got registration, there was a question about manufacturing. And I will say that we work with a lot of manufacturing companies, and you can't really offer remote or hybrid. You need people in the area to get the work done. But when you can offer some sort of flexibility, I know they have to be on site, but could you consider a 4-day rotation? Or you really should just be thinking about things that make work be more enjoyable. So an example of that is we have a manufacturing client who in the summer especially gets very hot. And they provide popsicles and Gatorades and lunch sometimes in the lunch break room. So just little things like that make for, as silly as that sounds, a better work environment. And some of that stuff even feeds into flexibility. If you offer a lunch break in a nice space, they can take that into consideration as well. Or if they can leave early every other Friday, or some summers leave early on Fridays. So there's creative ways to think about flexibility, even when you have a manufacturing type of environment, when you have to be there. Also, when considering a potential employer, respondents ranked that company reputation and stability were high, and the culture and employee wellness initiatives were close behind that. We also learned that when researching potential employees, 89% reported that they check the website of the company, 82% will look at LinkedIn, 76% will look at Google, 55% check Glassdoor, and 52% look at social media. So they're checking out what your company is all about. So this means that employers need to pay attention to what is being said both on social media, how the company looks on LinkedIn, and not just professionally in what you do, but also your culture and what your employees are saying about working there as well. The more you can share, the better for positive feedback. So be thoughtful about what you're sharing. Think about your company brand and highlight it. And the next slide is about recruiting and your company brand. And so I'll just mention a few things about this as well. So knowing what candidates find to be most important in a job search is really important for employers to consider. That you need to consider as an employer what candidates find really important, and this will help attract employees. It's also why employees want to stay in their position and why companies need to know that. So you retain people, so you hire the right people and you retain the right people. So those are the pieces that candidates and employees find to be the most enjoyable or the best parts of a job are what you want to share both internally and externally. So sell your company story in the interview process as well. So when you know what your employees like, talk about it in an interview process. It's also something that we can add to a job posting. Again, this is about your company brand, who you are, and why people like working there and why somebody else would like to work there. Carrie's going to go over employee value proposition, which is part of knowing your employee brand. And the best way to build your brand or understand your brand is to ask your employees. People who are working at your company are your best resource in getting to know why someone else would want to work there. So I'll let Carrie jump in and dig into that piece a little bit more and give you guys some good insight there.
Thank you, Holly. So as Holly said, the EVP is really important for your candidates when they're looking at your jobs, applying to your jobs, and also for your employees. The EVP, to define it, is everything of value that you offer to your employees in exchange for their skills, their effort, their time. So their commitment to you will result in the value they receive back. It's really important to make sure you're communicating your EVP both to your current and prospective employees. You should put it on your intranet. You can put it on your website. You should have materials to include with your job offers. You can bring them to job fairs. Have some materials around the office to remind your employees of all the different things that you offer to make sure that they know and are taking advantage of everything that you do for them. As we said, your employees are part of your brand ambassadors, but also your partners, your stakeholders, everybody you work with. They can be your brand ambassadors. If they understand what you offer to your employees, they can communicate that as they're talking to peers, as they're networking. And that can be a really great way to build a positive employer image and to recruit and retain your employees. So what is the EVP? As we said, it's everything of value that you offer to your employees. This includes everything from your mission and values. Candidates these days really look for companies that match their mission and that match their values. It's your strategy. What are you planning for growth? How does that impact your current employees and their prospective careers in the future? And then, of course, all of the day-to-day components that touch your employees, which is the total rewards, the compensation, benefits, career development, etc. So we really recommend that employers write down everything that you offer. It could be as small as having popcorn in the office or free coffee, casual attire, pets in the office. It can be all of your benefit material, which you probably have in your benefit summary and in your handbook. Write everything down, no matter how small. Part of your EVP can be free items that you offer, flexibility arrangements, and everything you can think of that your employees use, that they appreciate, that you provide to them. Write that down, and then from there you can figure out how to build your materials in order to educate, communicate your value. A big part of your EVP is your total rewards. These are the things that impact your employees on the day-to-day basis. That would be their compensation, direct and indirect compensation, their benefits, their health insurance, their financial wellness, development opportunities. Are there roles for your employees to move into as they progress through their career? Do you have training opportunities? Do you provide mentorship opportunities? Do you have well-being programs for your employees? This could be an EAP. It could be related to fitness reimbursements. It could be related to 4-day work weeks, for example, and that flexibility, that work-life balance, that well-being metric. And your recognition programs, how are they structured? Do they need to be reviewed and updated? Do you need to add more kind of touch bases with your employees to make their experience more positive? And if you're looking to improve your total rewards programs, look to what your competitors are doing. Where are your employees coming from? Get feedback from them. Where are they going to? And if you still have a good relationship after they've left, figure out what you may be missing that you could implement in the future. And you can also look to defining your total reward strategy. So sitting down and thinking about exactly what you want to offer to your employees in your total rewards. Do your employees value a higher compensation and maybe fewer benefits? Or do they want more benefits, and in exchange for that, they're okay with a slightly lower salary? You have to look at allocating your total rewards dollars in the most effective way for your staff. And that can change over time. So looking at your staff continuously is important to making sure you are offering what they want.
So especially as you hire new employees, and I mentioned that a little bit before as well. Again, you can do a comp assessment with KMA if you need one, but making sure that when you're posting a job and you're hiring somebody, you know what they should be getting. And then you've got to look internally too to make sure everybody's also getting paid what is fair and correct in the market. Keep it top of mind, continually reviewing your rewards, your compensation and your benefits to align to your employees' needs. It's all about knowing your employees. Carrie, I do see you're back, and I'm going to let you go on to the next slide about the EVP total rewards, if that works for you. I just kind of finished up with a few of your notes.
Thank you, Holly.
Welcome
sorry
back.
that my power flickered out.
It's windy.
It's windy. Okay, do you need me to share my
Well,
slides?
if Miranda can just go to the EVP total reward slide next, and if she can just follow along, I think that works best.
Miranda will share from this point on.
Thank you so much. So, as Holly said earlier, we had surveyed a bunch of candidates about the traditional compensation components, and wages came out unsurprisingly as the #1 factor that candidates consider, both when looking for a new job and in their current job. While we know wages are often not the primary reason people leave a job, they are one of the top reasons why somebody may consider making a move. And ultimately, whether or not they decide on accepting a new offer, those wages play a huge impact on that. Of course, insurance, paid time off, and retirement contributions were all considered important factors for candidates to consider. It's also really important when thinking about wages to make sure you have competitive market-based compensation. That will help you attract and retain your talent if you can understand what the market's paying, so you know how to budget your compensation dollars in the best way. Making sure you have a clearly defined compensation philosophy is a way that you can communicate your compensation process to your employees and to your candidates. Maybe you're hiring a candidate at a slightly lower rate than what they had wanted, but they want the job offer so much that they're accepting that lower rate. Even though they are accepting that lower rate, they may be interested in how they're going to get to that point over the course of the next year or two. So really having a plan in place that is equitable for everybody. So as you consider this employee, maybe you offer them a lower rate because of internal equity, thinking about how you can get everybody up to a very competitive rate over the course of the next year or two would be really good for retaining that employee, and also for making sure you're rewarding your current staff for their tenure and their commitment to the organization. Also, having that clearly defined compensation philosophy will set you up for those pay transparency discussions that Holly had referenced earlier. It is becoming law in more places, states, cities. There's talk of more pay transparency in the New England area. So as those things make their way through the legislature, it's important to think about what you want to offer for transparency. And also, it's a big cultural move right now. A lot of employees are looking for that transparency when they're either in their current employer or at a potential future employer. They want to know that what they're being offered or what they're being paid is either competitive, or they just really want to understand how they're being paid. And that can go a long way to building trust within your employee base. And even at the beginning of the process with candidates, to give them a good start at your organization. And then, of course, clearly communicating how you pay your employees is also really important, and part of your total rewards and part of your EVP. It's that open communication, the access to leadership that can really make a positive experience. So on the next slide, we asked in our survey as well to rank some of the following benefits and perks, some of the more creative options and some more typical options. Unsurprisingly, and as we already mentioned, flexible work weeks were really important for a lot of people. And this doesn't just mean remote work or hybrid work. This could be, as Holly said, it could be a 4-day work week. It could be Fridays off in the summer or a half day. It could be even just your manager saying, you worked really hard the past couple of weeks. We've been through a really busy period. Go ahead, leave early today. It can be as simple as that, but making sure you have policies in place that can be administered equitably across the organization is really important. So thinking about that. Kind of the next two important areas were mental health support and financial wellness programs. So these are really, really increasing in importance for a lot of people. Lifestyle savings accounts were also somewhat important, and then less important, but still somewhat important, were company outings and on-site recreation. A lot of that is the shift that we're seeing in hybrid options and remote options. So if you're going to offer these things, you want to make sure that it's something your employees are going to enjoy being at and enjoy doing. So survey your employees, see what they want to do, and get their input on these programs to make sure that what you're offering is going to be considered a valuable offer to everybody. And really just knowing that what your employees like about working at your company will help you make sure your perks, your benefits, your total compensation is a positive experience for everyone. It will help you attract talent. It'll help you retain your talent. Your employees are your best recruitment tool, one of your best resources for finding talent. So Holly will talk a little bit more about this in the next couple of slides too.
Thanks, Carrie. Yep. And I see a few questions coming in, and we're going to go through this and then answer some questions at the end, but some really good questions are coming through. So thank you. And thanks, Carrie. I think knowing what your employees like helps you to create a good job posting, which falls in line with the EVP. That's why this slide is called Job Postings and Your EVP. What I am going to dive into is what we've learned, not only from working with a lot of different job boards and getting statistics from them, but just from seeing the success in creating a job posting firsthand. A good job posting creates more activity, gets us more action with applicants. So first, as a reminder, the job description is different than the job posting. I think everybody knows that, but a job description is the list of all the details of the day-to-day work. Its responsibilities, set skills required, who the position might report to, FLSA classification, information about the work environment, physical demands, schedule, anything that is the detailed information about the job. That's a job description. So that is what you'll share when you hire somebody, and that's for an HR file. But a job posting is like a marketing tool. This is what you're putting out there to say, we want you to come and learn more about the job description, right? So here's our teaser, so to speak. So it's what will attract someone to the position. It gets them excited to learn more about the job and your company. So a couple of things in the job posting, the things you want to remember are what the candidates want to know about your company and the position. So good pay. Again, we'll say it again. It doesn't just mean base salary, but it addresses the benefits and posting information about the benefits that are offered. Again, if we know flexibility matters the most, if you can offer some sort of flexible work environment, whether it is remote, whether it's hybrid, whether it's 4-day, whether it's early release, whatever you can do with flexibility, you put it in your job posting. That is a positive. You also talk about that in the interview. So those are things, if we know this is what people are looking for, don't just assume they get it. Talk about it, post it. So good pay, flexibility, career growth. Carrie mentioned that as well. We found that to be, and we still find that to be really important for a lot of people. Where can I go from here? At KMA, we work with a lot of different levels of positions. So some of this gets fine-tuned. Again, I talked about manufacturing and how a flexible work week looks different than a flexible work week at an accounting firm. So you have to do what works for your company. And career growth is, if there's an opportunity for somebody to move from on the floor labor work into a manager work, they like to know that that's a possibility. More so even I think in that mid-level career roles, they want to know that there's opportunity for learning and growth within the company. Something else that is really important, and again, statistically, we've figured this out, or we've gotten all the feedback and we know the data, but postings need to be shorter than they used to be. Why? Well, because most people, and we can go to the next slide, are looking for jobs on their phone. Miranda, can you go to the next slide? So the points on this slide are important because this is going to help you create a posting that'll get more activity. Bottom line, if you have too much verbiage, too many words, too long of a title, anything, you can really screw up when and how people spend time learning about your company and the position you're looking for. So more people are looking for a job on their mobile device at all levels than on the computer. So keep this in mind when creating a job posting. How little is a phone, right? So these stats have come from LinkedIn, Indeed, and a couple of our other job boards giving us their feedback on what they have found in their data. So 3 in 5 job seekers search for a job on their mobile device in the last year. 1 in 4 would not apply if a company's career site was not mobile optimized. So recommendations that have been given and we have implemented and find to be successful are making your job titles more mobile friendly. So a word count for a job title should be 35 to 60 characters for a job title. Use keywords that lead to clicks. You kind of got to think about artificial intelligence and what's happening behind the scenes on a lot of these job boards. So using keywords that are trending, like, or not too creative, right? So sales rep versus account manager, sales rep gets more activity because that's how when people use artificial intelligence to search for a job, even if they are looking for an account management role, they typically look for something within sales. Nurse versus caregiver, nurse gets more visibility. So there's certain things, and typically the job boards will make a recommendation when you put in the information about the job. They'll suggest a job title. Think about it before you say, no, they don't know I want to call this a specialty go find new work person, right? No, it's a sales rep, right? So think about that when you're getting recommendations from the job boards. They're usually telling you what they think you should use to help with your visibility. Word count for a job posting. This goes in line with how long a job posting should be. 700 to 2,000 characters. Research shows that this will get you 30% more applicants than a longer posting. So 700 to 2,000 characters. It's not too long. So you got to get a lot of information into these job postings. But again, it'll also force you to keep what's most important in the job postings. And the more entry level the role, the shorter the posting should be. You want to lead with benefits, not just duties, right? So we recommend a sentence about the company, not a big, huge blurb about your company. So just a little bit about the company. You can add more at the bottom about your company, but really you want to lead with sort of who you are, what you do, and then get into some of the benefits that you're offering. Why do you want to work here? Here's what we do. Here's why you want to work here. Include the salary because that, as we've learned, is important. And then again, leave more, and then obviously have the skills, what's required to do the work. But overall, we're finding that candidates are looking for a good place to work. A lot of it is a personal fit. So if you're leading with what people like about working at your company, part of that EVP, you'll attract more people that are excited about working there. The other piece that's really important is a good onboarding experience. And this falls in line with not just the recruiting, but also the retaining. So we have found that some companies are now onboarding for a year. Used to be 2 weeks, maybe a week, maybe 3 days. Like, here's your onboarding. You good? Okay. Now people are thinking about it a lot longer term. So a year's length is not uncommon for some companies. And again, this gets customized based on what you're doing and who you're hiring. But the learning is the longer you can keep connected and have your hiring managers keep connected with your new hires, the more you're building those relationships internally, the better you know about the employee satisfaction with the work that they're doing, and the better the culture becomes, because people feel like they matter. There was a question about supporting hiring managers from somebody, I think, in the registration. This is a really good area. So recruitment and retention. This is where you can make the biggest impact. Create a strong onboarding experience. Think about, and Carrie, you're going to get into this a little bit too, but you want to think about rewarding, recognizing, training, and keep it going. You can pull back after an onboarding has happened with how often you do things, but you should continue to do it for the future of the person's existence at your company. Carrie, I got a little excited there. I'm sorry if I took some of your info, but go ahead and talk to us about employee experience, because I think this is good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Holly is right. You have this big upfront training, you welcome your employees on board, you go through everything. It's a lot of information all at once. So what can you do to spread that out, to continuously train, remind people, check in with them? This also goes to recognition, rewards, in making sure your employees feel like they have all the tools that they need to succeed. We all know that compensation is, your salary, your pay is what employees feel as their value to the company. What they're paid kind of feels like is what they're worth. But what we know is that frequent check-ins, positive feedback, really talking to your employees regularly can go a long way to, or even be more important than additional money. Of course, everybody wants to continuously grow their salary, and with inflation and everything, that can be important to figure out. But even more important is the recognition, the reward, the career growth opportunities, continuously training. So making sure you are looking at your employees on an ongoing basis, regularly reviewing your total rewards package and the employee experience and how they all relate, training your employees, educating them, just making sure they're taking advantage of that full experience, and that you're involved as the management team, the hiring manager, and the rest of the leadership team as well will go a long way in retaining that employee once they're on board. To the next slide, Miranda, we'll talk a little bit more about just employee offerings. What is out there? As I said earlier, write down everything. These are some more examples of things that people are offering that maybe not everybody is offering: bereavement leave or paid jury duty leave. Maybe you have pet insurance. Maybe you allow pets at the office. Maybe you have a yoga instructor come to the office once a week, which supports both fitness and mental health. And you have classes in a conference room. What are the unique things that you can offer to your employees, whether they're in the office or not in the office, that they can take advantage of that makes their employee experience better? Anything that makes that experience better will really increase your ability to attract new talent and retain your current talent. And going back to our conversation earlier about your employees being your best brand ambassadors, if they love working at your organization, they're going to tell people. And through those conversations, you're going to find more applicants to your positions, because their peers that they're talking to about how great it is to work your organization are going to look for your open positions. So we're going to end the presentation today talking a little bit more about learning about these offerings. So if you do want to learn more about what your peers are doing, what are people offering, you can look out for our upcoming KMA employee benefit survey. We're hosting our third benefit survey. It's going to cover a lot of the topics and areas that we talked about for your total rewards, your EVP. Look out for that email coming up. And if you need any help with any compensation work, HR consulting work, these are some of the kind of the high level points that we provide here at KMA.
Definitely. And I would just add that KMA is most well known for our HR support, and our HR consulting team is ready to help with any HR needs that your company has. Our recruiting team is well equipped to help with any of your recruiting needs. We hire people into executive level roles, mid-level, mid-career level, as well as we do a lot of volume manufacturing type of positions. If you have multiple needs, multiple hires needed. So if you have any questions or you want to learn more about KMA, you all know, I'm hoping you all know our website, kmahr.com. You can contact us through the website, or you can connect with your recruiter or consultant that you've worked with in the past, or any one of our sales team reps as well.
Hi, perfect intro. Do you want to go through some of the questions, ladies? That was a great presentation.
Yeah, let's do that. I think it's
okay. How is pay disparity in regards to diversity and geographic locations in Maine?
So I would say historically, there's been the geographic pay differential. So you live in northern Maine, your pay is typically lower than it is in southern Maine. If you look at the pay equity information in Maine, there's no geographic differential as a factor for pay discrepancies. There is in other states. So it's really important as you're thinking about how you pay your employees across a state or even across a region to develop a compensation strategy and philosophy, figure out what your market data is. Are you looking at just your city, your headquarters? Are you looking at a state average? Are you looking at a regional average or national average? And figuring out how you want to pay all of your employees. There are still plenty of organizations that provide geographic differentials, but I would again go back and look at your state's pay equity laws and see if that will help you kind of define that strategy for you.
Right. Thank you. There was a question when we brought up mental health. We have mental health included in our insurance. What are other companies offering more localized programs to add that as a benefit?
So Jen also included some information in a responding to that question. That they found an EAP provider that provides additional mental health support. That's one of our recommendations, absolutely, is to look for an EAP program or an employee assistance program that has some additional support benefits. It could be free. You get to call somebody, maybe they're not an actual therapist, but you can call somebody and talk about a problem if you have a problem. There are meditation apps that you could promote. You could pay for them for everybody to have access to it. There's, again, a lot of your perks can relate to mental health. It could be fitness reimbursement, if you reimburse employees for a gym membership, for example, or if you let them go half day on a Friday when it's the summer. Or maybe it's the first really nice day of the year and you say, this is great. How about everybody go and take a 2-hour lunch, for example? Just something you can do to promote mental health kind of across the board. It doesn't have to be a paid benefit that you offer to your employees.
Right, great. Has there been a shift in what employees want related to a base salary and incentive/bonus pay as a percentage of total compensation?
I would say I've seen a trend in the nonprofit space. Historically, bonuses and incentive pay has been a private sector program. More recently, I've seen a trend where nonprofits want to provide more bonus or incentive pay to their staff to be more competitive with the private sector. So there has been some shifts in the market in terms of that percent between base and incentive. I'd say there are lots of employees who don't get any bonus at all. What you can do if you don't have a formal bonus program is you can look at offering maybe a one-off every once in a while. If you have a really productive quarter, you could offer kind of a one-off bonus to employees to really share in the success of the organization.
Right. Okay, here's some more questions from the chat. I might have missed this, but is providing a link in a job posting to a full job description a detractor?
A good question. That I would recommend. So, and I'm reading the next question too from Sarah. AI, right? So if you take the human out of hiring, you're hurting yourself. So having the job posting should be what you want to attract somebody to be able to have a conversation to talk more about that job description or the full job. So you really want to use the job posting to entice people to have a conversation, to have the human part. So if you link the job description, you might be giving too much information and you miss the opportunity to get to know somebody on a level that might work for your company. Their skills might not scream the way they need to in a resume, and your job description might scream, holy cow, I'm out. So you don't want to miss the opportunity to have a conversation based on what you're posting in a job posting that attracts them and not giving them too much information like the job description would. So I always, and then back to the next question too, recommending utilizing the AI generated job posting for positions. I think the AI generated job posting that Indeed offers is a good format to use. They'll give you a good foundation, but you've got to read it and make sure that you're looking at it for what you really want. They are going to use keywords that'll be found, but an example like project management, a lot of times if you have project management in your job, you'll end up getting a lot of construction people, and we don't want construction. So you've got to really figure out what their AI generated keywords are saying, who they'll attract, and just, use it for the formatting, but not necessarily, it takes the human out of hiring.
Yes, we want the human
You want the
in
human.
the hiring because we
You want the
want
human
to
in the
hire
hiring.
human.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that helps, but yeah. Thank you all.